People's Opposition PDP says President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration failed Nigerians in 2019. President Buhari pledged improved infrastructure power in 2020. And Guinea-Bissau opposition leader wins presidential election. A warm welcome to News Now. I am Fidelia Aguncha. The People's Democratic Party and its presidential candidate in the last general election, Atiku Abubakar, has disagreed with the All Progressive Congress on the achievement of President Muhammadu Buhari in 2019. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, had earlier in December 2019 ruled out the achievement of the current administration, stating that the government embarked on massive infrastructural development and economic diversification while also recording major achievements in the anti-insurgency war. But Atiku, in his assessment of 2019, described the year as an unsuccessful one, saying Nigerians faced increased insecurity, rising unemployment, and economic hardship in the year. In his statement released on Tuesday, the former vice president said urged Nigerians to do things differently in the new year if they wish to achieve their desire for a better and prosperous future. He also charged the federal government to be more committed to the rule of law and respect for citizens' democratic rights. Former Kano lawmaker Abdulmumin Jibrin is, however, disagreeing with the opposition party on the performance of the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration in 2019. Jibrin, addressing State House correspondents after meeting with the president in Abuja, commended the administration for a job well done in the just concluded year. He said the government recorded major success in the fight against insurgency, the anti-corruption war, and economic developments.
I had audience with Mr. President, and it's a regular audience to discuss with him all the achievements during the year, to commend him on the progress we've made in terms of the economy, of course, the issue of fight against corruption, and the issue of security in the country. And to look at a lot of issues that has to do with massive infrastructural development going on across the country, and the need to sustain it, the agricultural revolution going on, the need to sustain it, and the fight against insurgency and the successes that has been recorded, and of course the cordial relationship between the executive and the legislature. And by and large, it's been a very good year for the president and the government.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has promised Nigerians that there will be significant improvements in major sectors of the country, including power, infrastructure, and agriculture in the new year. The president made the pledge in his New Year letter to Nigerians released on Wednesday, January 1st, 2020. In the letter, the president said there are 47 road projects scheduled for completion in the year 2020, adding that works are also ongoing on major bridges, including the Second Niger Bridge. He also revealed that an agricultural rural mechanization scheme that will cover 700 local governments over a period of 3 years will be launched later in the year to drive employment and food self-sufficiency. On the issue of insecurity, President Buhari said the federal government is working with state governors, neighboring states, and international partners to tackle the root cause of violent extremism and better secure the nation and its citizens. The president also assured Nigerians that he will not seek a third term at the expiration of his tenure in office. Well, Nigerians have begun setting the agenda for the government at all levels as the country enters into a new year. A cross-section of residents in Lagos told TV360 Nigeria that improved standard of living, security, and a better economy are some of the things they are looking forward to in the new year.
I pray that God should pass through the hearts of our leaders so that whatever they will be doing, they will put the masses into consideration and they will make sure that there is security in this country, because you can see a lot of families are insecure, most especially the northern part of my country. A lot of insecurity, family life, people are dying just like animals. So we need peace, we need love, we need unity.
I expect the government to do more concerning power. Electricity is one of the major things affecting us. Other way around is all policies done consider the masses. Let it not be for the rich alone. Let us consider the masses as well. When you are making a policy, not only the rich that lives in the country, the poor masses are there as well.
We need to work hard, all the youth, so that the Nigerian ones sort, and our government should give all the support, so all our efforts that can come out in a good way, so we can live more better in this country more than this.
We want to see a lot of food in the market so that we will not have food crisis. The borders were shut. People were crying that because the borders were shut, that's why we had inflation in the market, that food prices have hiked. But hopefully we see that there will be a downturn in 2020, that food prices will come down.
All over the men and women all over the world, our president, our governor, our chairman, people sitting in the seat all over. I want them to do the best. When you are in that seat, God allow you to be. Try for you to do the will of God. Let them do it. Don't intimidate anyone because of your power you have in this earth. Do what you can do, and that grace of the Lord will be upon you for your life forever.
President of the African Development Bank, AFDB, Akinwumi Adesina, has pledged his support for President Muhammadu Buhari as he chairs the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Akinwumi revealed this while addressing journalists after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari behind closed doors at the presidential villa in Abuja. The AFDB president says the bank would continue to support the ECOWAS, particularly in the areas of economic development as well as security.
First and foremost, I came to congratulate him on his chairmanship election to be chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of States and Government. Obviously, that's very, very important for economic integration of the region. And as you know, as president of the African Development Bank, the issues that are critical for regional integration are there. The issues of infrastructure are very, very important. Some of the monetary policy issues are very important. And how to make sure that we are able to address the issue of insecurity, which the president has been leading on how to tackle that issue within the region. So I came to exchange some ideas with the president and to offer the president my full support as he takes on the chairmanship of ECOWAS.
Moving on, the Kwara State government says former Senate leader Abubakar Olushola Saraki never paid for a piece of land which was recently revoked by the state government. In a statement released on Wednesday, Director General of the State's Bureau of Lands, Ibrahim, said no formal application was made in respect of the land and the government never issued right of occupancy to the company from which the former lawmaker reportedly acquired the property. Kwara State Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak had on Friday taken over the property, saying it plans to construct a new secretariat on the land. The government has now deployed police officers to cordon off the piece of property. Meanwhile, the Senate President Bukola Saraki has denied claims that his father never acquired the land legitimately. Former Senator representing Kaduna Central Senatorial District, Shehu Sani, has been arrested by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, for allegedly extorting $10,000 from a businessman to influence his corruption case with the anti-graft agency. The anti-graft agency, in a statement, said Shehu Sani was arrested following a report from one Sani Dauda, a popular car dealer in Kaduna State, who accused the former lawmaker of collecting money from him on grounds that he is very close to acting EFCC boss Ibrahim Magu. According to the report given by the car dealer, Senator Sani had demanded $20,000 from him to pass on to Ibrahim Magu in order to resolve his case with the anti-graft agency, but he was only able to give $10,000. In the statement released early on Wednesday, the anti-graft agency said Senator Sani is currently being quizzed by the agency and is likely to remain in custody until January 2nd. Meanwhile, the Department of State Services, DSS, has denied reports that it has been holding a popular critic of the government and social media influencer Abubakar Idris, better known as Daddy Yatta, in custody. Daddy Yatta was reportedly abducted by unknown armed men in August 2019 while driving into his residence in Kaduna State. He has since not been seen nor heard from. Many had accused the secret police of arresting him, but in a statement released on Tuesday, Peter Afunaya, DSS spokesperson, said the agency knows nothing about Daddy Yatta's movement. Afunaya also distanced the DSS from the trial of Agba Jalingo, a journalist in Cross River State. The Edo State government has distributed relief items comprising building materials such as roofing sheets, cement and nails to victims of rainstorm and flood disaster in 12 local government areas across the state. This followed the distribution of food items to the victims in April 2019. Supervising the distribution in Benin City, the Edo State capital, Special Advisor to the Governor on Special Duties, Yakubu Gowon, reaffirmed the state government's commitment to the welfare of Edo people. He maintained that the Governor Obaseki-led administration has always catered for the people of the state, especially those whose properties were affected by natural disasters. Yakubu says the government has also established a local government emergency management committee in all areas of the state to help supervise the distribution of the materials and ensure transparency as well as accountability. News now will continue in just a moment. Don't go away.
Corruption not in my country. That was a very good business. Yeah. The furniture you brought was very perfect.
That's how we roll.
Because then let me do you receipts.
Yeah. How much of it again?
1 million naira.
Okay, write 2.5.
Mbano. The deal was for 1 million naira now.
Okay, write 3 million. I'll give you 500.
Oh no, I don't do business like that now. Yeah.
In that case, give me back my check. Let me go and look for vendor that business.
Take.
Your loss.
It is only for incorruptible customers. What are you talking?
Now get out.
What kind of this?
You will just die.
No,
you will die.
That is the door. Now get out from here.
Rubbish.
Look, my people. Make una only add money for original invoice price. That's not corruption. Say no. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
On TV360, we don't just ask the questions.
What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it?
We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action.
People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country. I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly. God forbid that I go to join that band.
TV360, providing clarity to issues.
Welcome back. Let's now talk business. Nigeria's foreign reserve, which stood at $43.07 billion as of the beginning of January 2019, fell by $4.45 billion to $38.619 billion as of the end of December 2019. The latest figures from the Central Bank of Nigeria reveal that the reserve, which has been recording a downward trend, dropped from $39.8 billion on November 11 to $39.24 billion on December 13. The foreign reserves fell by $1.26 billion from $41.76 billion on October 2nd to $40.5 billion as of the end of the month. Recall that CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele said recently that Nigeria's overdependence on crude oil for over 60% of fiscal revenue and over 90% of forex inflows meant that shocks in the oil market were transmitted entirely to the economy via the forex markets. The federal government has been urged to work towards improving the country's economy to attract more investors in the new year. Managing Director, Cowries Asset Limited, Johnson Chukwu, gave the charge while giving his forecast for the year 2020. In an interview with TV360 Nigeria, Chukwu urged the government to implement policies that will drive economic growth and create job opportunities for youth.
I think if you look at what is happening in the last couple of months, where we see central bank taking up measures to drive credit into the market, I want to believe that once you have cheap credit or cheaper credit compared to what it was, then the private sector operators will have access to credit at lower cost, and then that will improve their cost of doing business or cost of operation, as well as improve their productivity. So I'm hoping that with an improvement in cost of input, which finance is one of the major input elements, that we're going to see lower inflation rates in the medium term. Beyond that, we should also see an improvement in economic activity as a result of lower financing costs and more availability of credit. I'm hoping that the credit will also permeate to get to the consumer level. So when you have consumer credit, I believe that will spur the consumer demand, which will drive production or demand for goods and services. So my outlook is that the economy in 2020, all things being equal, should be much better than what we are dealing with in 2019.
Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timothy Silva, says review of the Petroleum Industry Bill, PIB, is at an advanced stage and full passage of the bill is expected by mid-2020. Silva made the announcement on Wednesday in a statement to mark the new year. The minister, while reviewing the performance of the Petroleum Ministry, described 2019 as a very busy and prosperous year for the ministry and its agencies. According to him, the ministry's achievements include amendments of the Deep Offshore and Inland Basin Production Sharing Contact Act and signing of final investment decision on the Nigerian liquefied natural gas Train 7 project. He said others were the discovery of crude oil in the Upper Benue Trough and the hosting of the extraordinary session of the Council of Ministers of the African Petroleum Producers Organization and the emergence of Nigeria's Dr. Omar Ibrahim as its Secretary General. The World Bank has projected that Nigeria needs 30 million new jobs by the year 2030 to maintain the current employment rate and population growth trend. The National Bureau of Statistics had revealed in its report that the unemployment rate in Nigeria increased to 23.10% in the third quarter of 2018 from 22.70% in the second quarter of 2018. In its latest Nigeria Economic Update, the World Bank reported that the differential between high rate of population growth and low rate of job creation had led to an increase in unemployment and underemployment. Nigeria's underemployment rate is currently put at 20.1%. The bank, however, noted that the country's labor force was also growing rapidly, adding that in the last 5 years, 19 million Nigerians entered into the labor force. Traders at the Nigeria Stock Exchange are optimistic that trading for the year 2020 will be better than the previous. This is coming after the market closed 2019 negative, dropping by over 4,400 basis points. In a chat with TV360 Nigeria, securities trading expert Muhammad Kayode said with the new economic policies put in place by the federal government, trading in the new year will end bullish.
I'm expecting that, coupled with the other economic policies that the government put in place, the inauguration of an economic team and other economic policies that have been put in place, closure of borders and other things, and the increasing rate of the productivity in Nigerian economy. So all these things will contribute to what we are going to see in the 2020, which we expect is going to be bullish in 2020. But there's one factor that I think is going to affect that. We have the policy released by central bank recently on the banks, and banks are the major that control major activities in the market. And in these policies, we see a situation whereby central bank cut some of the rates that flows into what is happening in the banking sector. And this will affect their non-interest income that they will have at the end of the year. So looking at what the activity is doing, the banking sector may have a decline in what is non-interest bank, and this will flow into their bottom line at the end of the year. So that's the only factor that I can see that may likely drag some of those activities. But generally, I believe that the market is going to be bullish in 2020, looking at the policy that has already been put in place.
Well, let's now move to the foreign scene. Umaru Sissoco Embalo, former Guinea-Bissau Prime Minister and ex-Army General, have been declared winner of the just concluded presidential election in the West African country, garnering 54% of the votes cast. He defeated Simos Pereira, who is also a former Prime Minister, in a runoff vote conducted on Sunday. Pereira, from the ruling PAIGC party, had won easily the most votes in the November first round, but Embalo's candidacy gained support from the main contenders who failed to reach the runoff, including Vaz. Embalo takes over from Jose Mario Vaz, who came to power in 2014. He now faces the difficult task of overcoming a long-running political impasse and modernizing the West African country of 1.6 million people, which has suffered 9 coups or attempted coups since independence from Portugal in 1974. And to sport, Chelsea recorded a loss of nearly £100 million for the year ending June 30 as the club released their latest financial results. However, despite the figures, the Blues insist they're still compliant with UEFA's financial fair play regulations. Meanwhile, the club's marginal turnover grew to £446.7 million. In the financial report, Chelsea said lack of Champions League football, costs associated with changing manager, and a record outlay on players are responsible for the £96.6 million loss. And that is our news now. Many thanks for joining us. I am Fidelia Aguncha. Have a wonderful new year.